Hello everybody, today we are working on slope-intercept form. So we talked about slope-intercept form today. Now we're actually going to apply it to something a little bit more, not intense, but we're going to talk about how to graph it and how to write it, and yeah, graphing and writing slope-intercept form. That's what we're doing today. I've got the copy of the notes right next to me. Before we start, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder. We are doing a quiz next class. So quiz on, what was it on? Slope and parallel and perpendicular lines. Ooh, dicular lines. Next class, because apparently some of you guys don't listen. Next class. Some of you guys don't listen, so I have to write it so you guys can understand. So make sure you study for it. Okay? Study. Okay? So, don't forget to do that. Okay? So let's just go ahead and jump into the vocabulary. Most of this is review from previous day of notes, but I just want to make sure you understand it all. Slope is the ratio of vertical change and the horizontal change, meaning over the horizontal change. Okay, we denote that with a giant M. That's your slope. Okay, M. Okay, y-intercept is the point where. That's weird. Where the line crosses the y-axis. That's not even the word where. Point where the line crosses the y-axis. And we actually denote that with the... Oh, why does this blind thing always want to come up? The B? No. Somehow it doesn't want me to type B. All I want to do is type... I can type an X. Now I can type B. Okay. We denote that with a B. Okay? So, when we write the form of the equation for a linear function, meaning a line, linear means line, is y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. Now, the b is only the y value of the y-intercept, okay? So, but since when we know the y value, we can write the y-intercept as an ordered pair. So it works out. Cool. Moving on. So today we're going to be talking about graphing slope-intercept form. So, first thing you do is plot the y-intercept, meaning you're putting a point on the y-axis based on the equation that you get. And then you use the slope to plot a second point and draw a line through the 2 points. Make sure there are arrows on the end. Arrows on the end of your line. Okay? So, I know I'm adding stuff in because I keep forgetting it, and I think it's important information that you guys have. And I can tell you in class, but this way you understand it. So just put arrows on the end of your line. Okay? So here's our example. I apologize if things pop up when I don't click on them. Some things are like on top of each other, so it's going to be funky. So graph the line with the equation y equals negative 1/2 x minus 3. Well, I'm going to use a marker for this. So negative 1/2, that's my m, which means my slope. Okay? Negative 3 is my y-intercept. That's the b. Okay? So that's where I'm going to plot a point first, is on when y is negative 3, and since the y-intercept is going to be on the y-axis. So let's see if this wants to work for me. Hey, I made it extra big so you guys can see. So plot a point on where y is negative 3, right here. Okay? And then we're going to use our slope, negative 1/2. So that means the rise is negative 1. Let's type this now. Rise equals negative 1, which means down 1. Okay? And the run is equal to 2. Since it's positive, it means go up 2. Okay? So we're going to go down 1. No, not down. Not up. What am I saying? Right. Because run means right or left. Okay? So rise, overrun, so that means we go down 1, which is going to put me right here at the top of this arrow, little cursor thing. And then I go over 2, so that's my next point. And there is a point under there, but it doesn't want to show up. So I plot that point, and then I connect them with the arrow. You see there's arrow, or not arrow. Woo! I connect them with the lines. And I put arrows on the end because that line will continue. Okay? All linear functions continue. They're all lines, so we need to put arrows. It just keeps going on forever. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. So here's a try on your own. Okay? Try to graph this line. When we come back to class, I will have it on, not on the homework board because it doesn't have a quadratic, what is it called? Coordinate plane on it. So at the coordinate plane in the front of my room, we'll have this example on the board. Okay? So go ahead and try this on your own, see what it looks like, and then we'll talk about it in class. Okay. Writing slope-intercept form. Writing it, and from a graph. That's important. Okay? Remember that slope-intercept form is made up of is mx plus b. Basically, all we need, though, to put in it is an m and a b. The y and x, those are going to stay constant variables. Like, they're representing, like, if you put the x here and did all this stuff to it, you'll get the y. Okay? We don't need to put in the specific x and y's. We just need the variables, x and y, to be present. Those should be the only letters we see in the equation. M and B should be numbers. Okay? So the very first thing is we're going to find the slope from 2 points. You can pick any 2 points from the graph. It does not matter. Okay? And then you find the slope from them. Make sure your slope is reduced. Okay? Then we find the y-intercept, okay, which is our b, and we just go ahead and fill in y equals mx plus b. So here's an example. Okay? The very first thing we want to do is find the slope. Okay? So I'm going to just use a marker for this. Sorry it's not big, it's just easier that way I can write on it. And I'm going to make it blue. So, look, if we look, our x-intercept and our y-intercept are clear points, so I'm just going to use those. You can use different points, it's totally fine. You should get the same answer as me. Okay? But here, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, that's supposed to be a straight line. I went up 5, meaning I did positive 5 for my rise. And then I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, and I went to the right, so that means it's plus 3. So I did a rise is positive 5. My run is positive 3. So that means m equals, and I can't do it with the fraction bar for some reason, so I'm just going to use a slash for it, but it's 5 over 3. That's my slope. Oh. Go away. Okay. My y-intercept is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my b is 5. Oh, you know what? All this stuff is here. Oh, well. So, y equals 5/3 x plus 5. And it's a positive 5. It's plus 5 because I had a positive y-intercept. Okay? So I just write that down. And all this other stuff. Delete that so you don't get confused. It's really just, I accidentally already wrote it, so that's what I go ahead and do, and that's my equation. This fun looking slope-intercept form with a horrible circle around it. Sorry, but that's my answer. That's my slope-intercept form for this line. Okay? Now you're going to try this one on your own. Remember, find your slope and find your y-intercept and then put it all together. Okay? Oh. Ew. Okay. Before you try this on your own. Okay? This line is not going through a y-intercept very nicely. So I'm going to tell you what the y-intercept is. We're going to go ahead and use -1 as our y-intercept. Okay? Right there. Again, sorry for the marker, it doesn't like me. That's going to be our y-intercept. Let me give you another point so you can calculate your slope. The x looks pretty good, so let's use this x1. Okay? Because my circles will suck if I draw it. Let's use those 2 points to calculate your slope. That's going to make your life a little bit easier, okay? Because it doesn't work out as nicely. And then we'll go ahead and talk about that in class, okay? Okay. Moving on to writing slope-intercept form given a slope and a point. And that point might not be slope or your y-intercept. So, here's what we do. We fill in the slope into y equals mx plus b. So we can fill in the m because they gave it to us. Then what we do is we use the point to plug in for x and y. That way the only variable left is b. And we solve for the b. Now that we have the m and the b, we write the equation using that. Okay? So here's an example. We're given the slope is -3. Apparently I wrote all this stuff out. And so we plug that into our equation. So y equals -3x plus b. Problem is that we still have b as a variable, which we know that should be a number. So we have a problem. We don't know what that number is. However, we do know what x and y could be. So if we plug those in for numbers, we'd only have that variable, and we can find out what that equals. So we go ahead and plug it in. Okay? So that's what x and y is. So we plug it in. So it's -1 equals -3 times 4 plus b. So it comes out to be -1 equals -12 plus b. We add 12 to both sides, telling us that b is 11. So now that we know that, we are still going to use the letters x and y into our final equation. Your equations for a linear function should always have like the letter x and the letter y in it. The only thing that should be numbers is your m and b. We have the numbers for m and b. Okay? Here's m, here's b. So when we write the equation, those are the only numbers going in. Okay? So we get y equals -3x plus 11. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope you're saying yes. And if you're saying no, put a star next to it. We can go over this more in class. Okay? So, go ahead and try this one on your own. Okay? Write the equation of a line of a slope-intercept form given the slope. So they gave you the slope, and they gave you a point. So write that out, and try to write it in slope-intercept form. We will go over this next class, okay, to see if you're correct, and to clear up any issues you might be having with it. Like, you're not sure why we don't put in the number for x and y or whatever. There is a reason, okay? So, give it a try, and we'll come back to it at class, okay? Okay, the last thing we need to do, because this is the last page, is writing slope-intercept form from 2 points. So all they gave you were 2 ordered pairs. Okay? Step 1, when we're given 2 ordered pairs, we can find the slope. So find the slope first. Once we have the slope, it's pretty much exactly the same as the last example. We have a point. We use one of the points. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Pick one of the 2 points they gave you. Plug it in, and you just follow the same thing. You plug in the x, y, and m into the equation, find the b, and you can write your y equals mx plus b form. Okay? So here's an example. I really don't want to do this example. Oh, we have a couple. Oh, okay. So, we'll do this example. Not because it's a bad thing, it's just that. Okay, very first thing is I want to find slope, so I use the formula. So I did 5 minus 3 over 0 minus -8, so I get 2 over 8, which reduces to 1/4. So that's my slope. Okay, I'm going to pick one of the points, and I'm actually going to pick the first one, -8, 3. Ooh. Okay, so now I'm going to follow the exact same steps. I have a slope and I have a point. Same steps from the last example. I write it out with my slope in it, my form with the slope in it. So it's y equals 1/4 x plus b. I need to know what that b is. So to find it, I'm going to plug in the x, the -8, and the y, the 3, into my equation. I'm going to go ahead and simplify. So 3 is just 3. 1/4 of -8, or 1/4 times -8, is -2. Okay? So to get b by itself, I'm going to add 2 to both sides. I get b equals 5. So now that I have my slope right here, and I have my y-intercept right here, I can go ahead and plug in my slope-intercept form. Y equals 1/4 x plus 5. Okay? Now, I don't know if you guys noticed. You might have wanted to pick a different point than me, and that's really fine. But I wanted to show you a way that would work every single time. This example actually gave us the y-intercept as one of the points. So you could have skipped all this work and just put 5 in. Okay? It won't give you a slope-intercept or a y-intercept every time. So I wanted to show you how to do it without a y-intercept. So for your try on your own, you don't get a y-intercept. So go ahead and do the work for it just like I did in the example. Okay? Find your slope first, plug in their point to get the b, and then you can write your equation. Okay? So give it a try. We will come back to it next class. Okay? And then we have one more example and one more try on your own for you. This is just tying it back to the perpendicular and parallel stuff that we did in class the other day. So we have to write an equation of a line that passes through a point. So they give us a point, and they tell us it's perpendicular to the line y equals -2x plus 4. So they didn't give us a slope, and they didn't give us 2 ordered pairs to find the slope. They did give us one pair, or a point, and then they told us another line that's perpendicular. Well, think about, what do we know about perpendicular lines and their slopes? They're opposite reciprocals. Okay? So, we know we have this point, -2, 9. If we look at the slope of this line, it's -2. And we know it's perpendicular. They told us that. Perpendicular. Woo! Okay? Which means opposite reciprocals. So we flip it upside down and change the sign. We get positive 1/2 for our slope. So our slope is 1/2. That's our m. Okay? So we use that. Now we have a slope and a point. We go ahead and plug it in just like the last example. So y equals 1/2 x plus b. We don't know what b is, so we're going to use our x and y to find it. We plug them in. We go ahead and simplify what we can. 1/2 times -2 gives us -1. We add 1 to both sides. B ends up equaling 10. Okay? Now that we have that in our slope, we plug it into our equation, so we get y equals 1/2 x plus 10. Okay? So you're going to try this one on your own. And I will tell you, it's a doozy. Okay? It makes you think. First of all, it tells you a point, and it tells you it's parallel to another line. Parallel. Okay? Gotta think what parallel means in terms of slope. Okay? And the line they give you is a special one, x equals 4. Think about what that means. What kind of line does that make? Okay? So you gotta think a lot about it. We will go over this to make sure, but I definitely gave you a thinker one for your last try on your own. Okay? Any questions? Put a star next to it, and we will go over it next class. Other than that, I'll see you. Sorry for the long video, but you'll understand it. Okay? Bye.